Hi guys, I'm Rachel. I'm Campbell. I'm Kaylee.
I'm Kyle, and welcome to Frankli.
One day I was registering for classes and I was stuck between two professors. So I turned to the only platform available to give me more information to help me decide, Rate My Professor. I saw that one of the professors I was considering had a chili pepper, but the other one didn't. And I obviously chose the one who had the chili pepper because who doesn't want to take a class with a hot professor, right? I walk into class, first day, and sure enough, he's definitely worthy of the chili pepper, but unfortunately his teaching skills aren't as hot as he is, and I wish that I had taken the other professor.
So Rachel's dilemma is emblematic of a much larger experience that students face every day trying to pick professors with the current professor rating sites out there. So these are two examples for the same professor taken from Rate My Professor for the same class, and obviously are drastically different. How would you know which one to take? So thus students are forced to base their decisions off of subjective and often outdated reviews rather than quantifiable, verified data. And so we wanted to target students, namely freshmen and sophomores like Rachel, who have yet to build a network of students that they can trust for who to take professors from.
And unfortunately, the only tools available for students right now are either dead, like Blinkness, biased and outdated, like Rate My Professors and Coopers, or don't have qualitative reviews like Grade Today.
And that's why we created Frankli, a tool for students to get schooled by the right professor. Frankli is a website that displays professor profiles that are made up of quantitative data from course evaluations given from the university. We will offer a more holistic view on the professor by using grade distribution, aggregate data, and personal student reviews. And now you may be asking how we'll be getting this data. Well, we submitted a FOIA request in March, and we've discovered that we will be able to use this information. Now I'm going to walk through you a prototype of our website. So, Rachel is interested in taking a class with Professor Shepard. So we'll type in Kathleen Shepard and find your professor, and then hit go. This will now provide all the classes that Professor Shepard is teaching this semester. So therefore, she's interested in taking 565, so she'll hit Media 565. Once she hits that, we're going to the next page. This will give her an overview of how many of the grade distribution that Professor Shepard had given to the previous class of last semester. This will not only show how many A's Professor Shepard's given, but it'll also show other personal reviews from other students, and also see how many friends that all of Rachel's friends that have viewed this page as well.
So we surveyed 95 students from 5 different universities and 63 different majors. And after talking to the students, we quickly learned the problem wasn't that they were lacking a system to use or they didn't want to use this type of tool, but they were having to use the tool despite knowing that often the reviews were extreme or biased because it was the only tool available. So we also found that from the current rating tools, they already like that 27%, like that they provide info as opposed to 5% who just like it because it's the best out there. And then we also found that 96% of students value having course evals when considering professors.
And like Campbell mentioned before, we are targeting the undergrad student population here at UNC. Currently, there are 18,500 students here, but for the purpose of our minimal viable product, we are focusing on the 800 students in the Mejo school.
We recognize a good product requires an even better business model. So what we have in place we think will be truly beneficial to all parties. As you can see here, all of our partners are in the education type industry. We do that because we all know that they hunger for the diverse student demographic that would come to Frankli on a daily basis. And as for Frankli, well, we would generate revenue from redirected traffic and ad banners that would coincide with our partners. And ultimately for students, we want to provide the best student registration experience, so providing a one-stop shop where students can order textbooks, to organize their classes, and to look at professor ratings, we truly think we'll be able to provide a wholesome review. And as we look at costs and revenues, we see that there is a rather high cost, and it kind of goes exponential in terms of cost and revenue. However, as we look at the 5-year projection, we see that the break-even point is between years 2 and 3. We credit that to a 25% increase in visitor traffic every year, which we can see is part of a very attractive marketing strategy. One thing I'd like to point out is Spotify advertising. As we were brainstorming, we were thinking, hey, what do a lot of students like doing when they're studying? And we thought music was a really good example with Spotify advertising. We incorporated this aspect to the idea that we were able to geographically target, and we thought this was a really good idea to increase brand awareness and kind of just get the word around about Frankli. Ultimately, we want to provide the best registration experience for students. So we have put in place important milestones for us to develop and innovate our app. As we roll out our app in August 1st, ultimately want to have a 5-year goal of integrating other universities such as Duke and NC State in the near future. Thank you for your time. Welcome to Frankli, and now I can gladly say you are all hot chili peppers. Any questions?
Can you walk us through the revenue model one more time?
Sure. So, well, if you want, why don't we go to the Excel? I might think it's a better breakdown. So I based this off of...
You didn't make it up.
So I used all real information, and I recognize that a good app requires not only an expensive start, as you can tell.
So yeah, before we walk through that, I'm more interested in the partner categories, because what I'm doing,
Oh, sure,
I'm trying to do the math in my head, that if I'm targeting 850 students, how much affiliate sales do I have to get at what percentage to equal like that $20,000 to $25,000 in revenue?
That's a great question.
That math didn't jive in my
Right.
head.
Well, starting at Corsical, well, first we would recognize that though there are 800 students, we assumed that they would visit the site more than once a day. So although there are 800 students, we would likely assume that they would, when students were looking at sites to look at professors, they would visit the site probably likely more than twice a day. So when we incorporate the visitor traffic more so than the actual population, we incorporate these events. That being said, to answer your question, we were actually able to get in contact with Corsical, and the co-founder actually agreed to redirect 30 cents for each redirected traffic from Frankli. We were also able to talk to the Vice President of Business Relations at Barnes & Noble, and she seemed pretty interested by the idea. That being said, we were not able to get specific numbers for these two categories. However, we were able to base our model off of Rate My Professor, they have a very attractive financial report, so we were able to kind of model our advertising, like you said, through that.
Would use of Frankly be seasonal in that you're mostly looking at profs when you're trying to register for classes and choose them, in which case the income stream would be steady?
Right, that's a very good point. And that would definitely be true. There are definitely apps out there that kind of have this seasonal trend. In fact, I used to work for a company called Sign of Genius, and they definitely had more trends at the beginning of school season. However, they would offset that by working through the off-season to develop or innovate the app. But I would agree that for the most part, there's not that steady sort of revenue that a lot of other companies can have.
Also, you can argue that Rate My Professor, they have a very attractive business model, and they are technically seasonal as well. So, like, we register 3 times, I guess you could say summer school, fall and spring, and Rate My Professor is still living, and I think that's kind of a true testament of that Frankly can also keep going.
That's a good answer, but you should address it in the slideshow,
Okay.
because I bet almost all the judges thought, wait a minute, nobody's going twice a day in the middle of the semester.
Right.
You know, you might go 5 times a day at the beginning of the semester, 15 times a day if you're driving yourself crazy, but you know, then there'll be days where you don't go for a couple weeks.
We did that take into consideration. In our cost model,
The Excel.
right. We focused in terms of 2 weeks ahead of time before students would come. So let's say there are 800 students. We assumed that they would come to the site twice a day, 2 weeks before. So we placed heavier emphasis in the 2 weeks before class registration and placed a lower emphasis, say, in the middle of.
Yeah, it might help you. You might be able to argue that your advertising could track that way too. Like if you know everybody's coming at the same time, sweet, I don't need to buy Spotify ads at certain times, but when it's time, we're going to load up on our Spotify ads and be on YouTube. And this seems like one where the media influencers, I think that was the last group, but would be super important if the person who has 50,000 Instagram followers is like, oh yeah, I use Frankli.
That's a great
Also,
point.
also to highlight, in the summer, I don't know if you guys know this, but I think there's 20 orientation groups, and every orientation group they register at the end. And so the summer, we would be killing it because they are registering that often. Honestly, I was lost. I had no clue what the heck I was going to take, and so having something like this would definitely benefit the freshmen for sure.
Can I zoom out from the specifics of the app, which I get the value of, to your venture's position on sort of value or lack thereof of rating professors on how many A's they give out in the long-term quality of the school, right? If everybody's choosing the profs that give A's, then those profs are the ones that get more students and more classes, and the school gets a reputation for being an easy school. And then all of a sudden UNC is not great, and your diploma from 20 years ago is less valuable because you've degraded the quality of your undergrad education. Talk to me about that piece.
Yeah, so grade distribution is not the only thing that Frankli offers. We'll also be having, or we'll have personal reviews from kids, students, and where they can voluntarily go and have qualitative responses about their professors. and perhaps give some explanation as to how they got a grade. And what we're really most interested in is just getting as much information about a class as possible. So for example, we were talking about maybe integrating syllabi onto the website so that people would have a better idea of the course load, and just better be able to just have the most information that they can.
Also, to go off of that, we're prepared for that question as well, because we were thinking like, what if like people start looking at the site and like, oh, these professors are so easy, like UNC is not as credible. The thing is, I think this is also a good time. I know a lot of professors actually go and look at the Rate My Professor to see like what people are talking about them. So this would be a good time for professors to also look at their own profile and realize, hey, maybe I am like maybe reevaluate their own teaching styles as well, and then maybe kind of like direct their course towards maybe making it harder or whatever based on the reviews. And we also, like Rachel had mentioned, our thinking is if we can become successful in this, we would also expand allowing professors to create their own profile as well, so they can become more personal and be more interactive with the students.
What you're saying is making me think about a potential revenue stream. As a professor, this information is valuable to me. Not so much the rant, but the information about how I could actually improve. And I wonder if there's a paid revenue stream to be had there. I'm willing to pay a few dollars, maybe even more than a few dollars, to get actionable feedback about how I can be a better teacher.
Yeah, so one of the things that we got from our market research survey was that people wanted more structure in what reviews would look like. So they wanted a section for like difficulty, course load, like how many hours a week you would spend on something. So definitely having the voluntary reviews where students go and write their own review on the website, just giving more structure to that so that people have certain targets that they need to hit. And I think that could be rolled into that.
One of your biggest critiques of Rate My Professor was that it's biased, which I completely agree with, but is there any way that you can build in an incentive structure to get a representative sample of each class to leave a review? Because you're always going to get like the most strongly opinion people giving their opinion.
And that's the whole point as far as like our product is that yes, there'll be the extreme views, but that's why we have the quantitative data. Like the quantitative data says it all. So it will have a disclaimer being like, this doesn't necessarily mean like that this professor is like this mean or this hard. You can like make that decision yourself, and so you can use the numbers to base off.
Have any of the existing competitors ever actually partnered with the university so that it's like you talk about getting qualitative feedback can actually work, like if you can actually get the data from the university, like, wouldn't that be more helpful? Or is it all just like, it seems adversarial to some degree, like you're pitting the students versus the professors versus the university, and so how do you prevent that from happening?
Well, sorry, I'm confused with your question. So, because
That's part of your value prop, though, is you were saying for the first time you're going to take the university official evals.
Yes, exactly.
Is every university system in every state going to release that information to you, or are you just limited to what North Carolina's going to release and you can't expand?
So we had.
That's part of our minimum viable product, is that if you go back to the target demographic, we want to focus on journalism students, mainly because we actually were able to get in contact with the dean, and she was able to give us the okay that this aggregate data was actually okay. I hope I'm not lying.
Successful, they're going to donate.
So to answer your question, we actually have lawyers in the class that help us kind of figure out like what to submit, and we submitted it to the schools in North Carolina and then I think as well in New York, because it also depends on the state. Some states have very high restrictions on public data, so it kind of will have to vary from there. But Corsical, they've expanded. I don't know if you know what Corsical is.
Too old.
Corsical is what basically the main students, a lot of the students use to research classes. So it literally has every single class you can possibly think of, and it's so easy, and you can make a fake schedule, and like it's just the easiest thing you possibly think of. So that's why we wanted to pair up together.
Yeah. That's for course planning. And so on each professor's page, Corsical has created this like plugin that's on all professors' pages. Kate has one on her page where students can interact with Corsical on any professor's UNC website. So you can literally add courses into your Corsical shopping cart from a professor's page. So we would be implementing that plugin into the professor profiles as well. So it's just kind of, as Kyle said before, a one-stop shop for course planning, finding out who you're getting information about your professors.
Definitely sounds like there's revenue on the professor side somewhere there. if you're going to be very interesting to professors for their own clicks, have you thought about advertisers who would market to professors? Like, who else could you sell advertising to if a bunch of the professors are coming?
That's a good point.
What are professors interested in?
Nobody knows.
Yeah, less scalable but perhaps more interesting to professors is if you can aggregate your data across all classes, schools, whatever, and sort of, I don't know, I can imagine a professional development series, something that's interesting to professors around like,
Right.
okay, these profs that are getting good ratings, like, what are they doing to be good teachers? Because most academics have never had teaching training, right? We've only ever had content training, and that's at the heart of what the rub is here.
I think too, part of that, giving it like the holistic perspective of all sides, like if we do have the syllabus, like, I mean, if I see a class and maybe I hate doing group projects, like something like this, but you're gonna get an A, I still might not take it because I don't wanna have to, if that, like, I'm super uncomfortable working in groups, or like, you know what I mean, like, it still might not be a fit for you. So like, having more factors that we can build into it, so you're taking the class because it's a good fit for you, not just because you'll get an A. I mean, obviously that's nice, but like, if a couple of teachers get an A, you still don't know which one to take, so providing a better perspective on that, for sure.
Okay. Thank you, guys.